mental health disorders. Today, we're going to talk about why I believe this thing to do with mental health disorders and all of that is a little bit of a scam. I'm going to offend a lot of people, but I want you to hear me out in full before you judge what I'm saying, because I'm not in any way attacking any individual person, nor am I suggesting that people are acting or faking anything. In fact, that is exactly why I feel so passionate about this, because I feel like to act as though these mental health disorders and things are just like a disease that came out from nowhere is doing a disservice to society. That's what I'm saying. Yes, it's about to get really controversial, but just buckle up, you guys, because I want to see people thrive in life. I don't want to see people struggling. I want to see people winning. And I just think there's some things that we need to address. And I think that this is one of the most intelligent works of the kingdom of darkness, this whole mental health thing. Because recently I've noticed that we have in society, as we all do, everybody has got all these titles now that tell us about who we are as a person. And I find it fascinating that as well, that we've taken on this thing of attributing our personalities to so-called things about us, such as being black or having ADHD, as opposed to things about us as a character, as in I'm somebody that loves animals, I'm somebody who's passionate about cars, whatever it is, right? Or even if it's that you're black, because you're black is just you're black, or I'm Caribbean, I'm, whatever it is. We've attributed a lot just to some titles that have been defined or that we are defining in a certain type of way. And then we use those as an excuse. So, for example, let's talk about astrology right now, because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm a Taurus rising and a Capricorn moon and a Libra sun, whatever. So I'm just a little bit stubborn and I don't tend to listen to what people say. I tend to need to be told. I need to learn the hard way because I'm a Taurus rising, Capricorn moon and Libra sun. And here's the thing with that. I feel as though what we've done is we found a way in society now where we've accepted things that we don't have to accept that actually are working against us, and it's preventing us from getting to honing in on where those things actually come from and the root cause. Because I feel like most people with diagnosed mental health disorders, let's talk about psychopaths, right, for a second, because I have an experience. I've experienced in that format, not me myself, but having known a diagnosed psychopathic myself for an extended period of time, I can tell you that my humble opinion is that, and again, anything I've ever heard, anybody who's watches true crime, anybody who's heard any story like that, right? These people, it was never that, and they came from a loving, stable, Christian home. They grew up like this. There's always something. There's always a chain of events. And here's the thing, our brains scientifically are set up in such a way that they adjust and they change to the circumstances in order for survival, right? And I've also noticed, and I have a scientific theory, which I pray the Lord one day will allow me the funds to do research as to how the men and women are different, and how our differences produce different results from the same exact event that we've gone through. Because so many of the things that people are dealing with, I feel like it's like, well, if we're all going to just call a spade and look at everything for what it is, it's like, well, you're clearly dealing with this because what you've been through. Hello? Is that not the clearest and obviousest of things? Now, I understand, and here's where I know that this is why society does it. Obviously, especially if you're the offender, you would rather that the offendee, the person you've offended in whatever way, I'm using offender as a very loose term, okay? Not loose, sorry, as a broad and vague term in this sense. So let's not all go straight to the extremes, right? It could be the most earlier stages, right? Let's say, you picked on a girl at school and maybe you didn't do the worst like other people, but you definitely picked on them and told them, oh my gosh, your like freckles are so ugly or something, you know what I mean? Your freckles make you look so ugly. And you said it to a girl like a couple of times. Heck, you said it once. Of course, we as humans who always want to feel better about ourselves would rather believe that if this individual now comes out and says, oh, I have been diagnosed with dot dot dot, and that's just a disease that I just have to deal with that just came from nowhere. Of course, we would all prefer for there to be somebody else to blame instead of ourselves, because this was exactly Adam and Eve. Oh gosh, I can't get away from these two. Oh, I can't get away from Adam and Eve, right? What do they do in the garden? The second that the snake's like, well, the God's like, what happened? Adam, where are you? Adam's all hiding. They're hiding. He's like, where are you? Oh, what happened? Oh, Lord, the woman you gave me. Oh, the woman you gave me. And then Eve, oh, the snake. Everybody's pointing fingers because we don't like to take accountability. So I think that the lack of accountability of the modern individual paired with just the sheer level of dysfunction in society has created the perfect cocktail for us all to accept this like delusional version of events that's called mental health disorders. Because yes, here's what I will agree with as a scientist. Scientifically speaking, I believe that if you put a whole bunch of people through the same event, it is going to produce certain symptoms in all of them because it's the same event, right? Therefore, on the other side, we are going to notice that, oh, for some reason, there are these groups of people that all seem to have these symptoms together, right, of certain things. Now, what we don't do in society is call it out for what it is. What we do instead is say, this is what we're going to call it. We're going to call it whatever we're going to call it. I don't want to specify anything in particular because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm singling anybody out, because I'm not singling anybody out, and I'm not trying to take away from people the struggles that they have. I truly believe, as somebody who has suffered myself, I realize I have my own issues. I realized this week, I was like, wow, I have some kind of like issues to do with isolation, and just that being always my go-to, like in everything. Like as soon as I just feel uncomfortable, I would not ask anybody for help. I will isolate until I feel back to myself enough that I can hold my own. Otherwise, isolation. And I realized that's actually unhealthy. I realized where it comes from, and it's not because I have a this. It's because of specific things that have happened. Also things like attachment styles. People have talked about like attachment styles, and again, instead of saying, they talk about where they come from and how attachment styles are what they start from, how a child relates to their mother specifically, right? How their child relates to their mother specifically has been connected with how people develop attachment styles and what type of attachment styles people create. So again, for me, I've noticed certain things in my life that I realize are symptoms of whatever attachment style that I have, linked to the fact that when I was born, living in the United States, after 6 weeks, my mum went back to work. And my dad actually stayed at home with me for most of the time. So I didn't actually spend as much time as I could have, and I would have wanted to as a baby with my mum in those early years, because that's where we form our attachment styles, with the bond you form with your mother, obviously because you were inside her womb prior. And so that is what the science believes. So again, these are just like little glimpses of things where I can look at my life now, and I could have never thought about that ever before, but I can hear that information now. I can read the symptoms, and I can go, oh, I so see how this could have affected me. And it did affect me. That whole situation affected me massively, right? I've noticed over time. You know what I'm saying? And so when I'm saying all of this, guys, not for anybody to feel sorry for me, and also not to overshare, because I don't know, I don't feel like I overshare. I feel like I'm saying this so that you can see I'm not trying to be against nobody. Like, I've been through all the different types of traumas in the world, like, I feel like, except from trafficking, okay? I've experienced physical and sexual and all the different types of violence you can imagine. Oh, I picked up a new one. It was like spiritual abuse, and I thought, oh, I need to sit on this one now. I need to really sit in spiritual abuse, because maybe that's the giant that I need to overcome right now, in my life. Because I was thinking, hola, that isn't one I've really addressed as much as I should have probably. I've experienced all these things. So when I see people in the world and I see how they behave and how they act, I always think to myself, if I didn't have God, I would be like this. If I didn't have God, I would do that. I would do this. If I didn't have Jesus, you guys, I wouldn't be the woman I am here in front of you. If it were not for the hard work of the Lord doing healing and deliverance that he has done inside of me, I would not be here the woman that I am. And people really take that for granted, I can tell. Because people think, oh, wow, like you're just so... I'm like, listen, I've had to go deep with the Lord, real deep into things that I don't even want to talk about. Right now, he's pushing me through things I don't want to talk about as we speak. Because I'm like, oh, why do we have to talk about this? But then I'm also acknowledging at the very same time that the reason I don't want to talk about it and the reason I've been behaving in certain ways and doing certain things is because there's things that affected why I'm in this predicament and I'm behaving in certain kinds of ways. There's reasons why I'm having severe anxiety right now. It's not because I'm just anxious out of nowhere. It's because I'm being faced with something I don't want to have to deal with, and I don't want to have to deal with it based on my past experiences, right? So my severe anxiety, this is why I don't want to go to the hospital for anything. I don't really go to the hospital, you guys. I don't go. I have no intention. I never go to the hospital because I feel like going to the hospital, they're the most doom and gloom people. They are just ready to especially because you got to remember that doctors and everybody, these are also scientists. So for them, there's a lot to gain, both in funding, both in just general curiosity, in putting us on medication and telling us that we are diagnosed with this, that, because then they have an excuse to run their research that they've been thinking about. So actually it might help them to have a whole bunch of people dealing with X, Y, and Z, because if they have that, then you can now be part of their study because they want to do a study. Because scientists are I hate to say it, but scientists are very emotionally detached people. And this is something I don't think that people realize. Because scientific people are so deeply logically thinking, and I know this because now that the Lord has been asking me to have feelings again, I hate it. I really hate it. I hate this feelings thing. All of this being in tune with your emotions and like letting yourself be, oh, I hate it with a passion. I miss the numbers. I miss the machines. I miss the just being so emotionally detached. As a part of being a scientist, you learn to become emotionally detached because emotions are the very reason. Let me tell you guys something. The reason why people are bad at maths and science is because it requires logical thinking. And a lot of times logical thinking goes against your feelings, because sometimes you'll be trying to do something, and what the actually logical step, if you actually thought about it to do, you won't do it because it doesn't feel right. And I always hear people say this, and I teach all the time. It happens to me every single time, all the time. I was having this exact conversation this week working. Doesn't feel right. People get questions wrong because it doesn't feel right. So as a scientist, as a mathematician, you become very good at detaching from your emotions, right? Because you have to. Because a lot of things are going to be right but not feel right. Okay? So a lot of these scientists and whatever, they're very, very detached from you as a person. They're not doing things because they care about you. I said this before about all this abortion stuff. People will go into the hospitals and whatever's, and they'll think, oh my gosh, the doctor care. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of doctors and like nurses and all the different hospital staff that healthcare workers, professionals who do genuinely care. I just want to be very clear. But there is also a big amount of a lot of them who are in this for the money, the research, the fascination, right? So for example, like I was saying, I always say this about the abortion thing, that people will say, oh my gosh, people who are against abortion is like, you just don't want us to be happy. The scientists are saying this, the scientists are trying to be inclusive. No, they're not. They don't care about you. They care about the fact that the cells of unborn babies and the cells of embryos are some of the most valuable because they can become anything. If you have an embryo, the embryo is going to become a whole child. So if they want to start creating, making farms where they can farm their own human hearts and farm their own human arms, because that's going to be the next leg of science. I'm sure that version of science is going to come into fruition in the near future, right? they want to, and obviously they're going to pitch it like, we're doing this for society, scientists have made a breakthrough, now they can make hearts and whatever. And what they're not telling you is that they're using the cells of aborted babies, because and that's why they're encouraging the abortion. They don't even care about you. They don't even care about you. I saw a story of a woman, she was horrified because she found out that her son she was pregnant already, she'd been pregnant, she was doing all the different tests. I don't know how long she was in. I feel like she was either end of first trimester, early second trimester, I'm not sure. And she was like, the doctor says to her, like, oh yeah, your son, he might, well, I don't know if they knew that he was going to be a boy. Anyway, he's born, he's beautiful and he's lovely, praise Jesus. But anyway, so they were like, yeah, no, he's gonna have such disability, but it's okay, we can just start again, like we can just try again. It's like, oh, we'll just kill him. That baby that's just been, we'll just move on, because they're detached, they're emotionally detached, right? And I know the feeling, because I miss the feeling. All this feeling stuff. This is why I have anxiety right now. Oh my gosh, right? Jeez. And now I understand why the world is, so I'm saying I'm living through the experience of the world, and it's making me realize the world, because I'm thinking, oh, if people are operating off of feelings, and if this is what it's like to live with feelings, oh, I understand so much about the world, right? And that's why, you guys, I'm really trying to do this, because I'm really trying to help you all, right? Because the way that people are living and the level to which of dysfunction that people are getting to, it's not good. Like, I realized that one of the things that I developed myself, and it's not productive for me, and it's something that I could just probably be some kind of symptom for whatever. I don't want to be diagnosed with nothing, because I want to leave the Lord to heal and deliver me of everything. I'm not saying you have to believe in that, guys. I'm not saying that it's wrong to take medication to help you on your journey. Listen, do what you need to do. It's a journey for us all. God will find us all at the point in which it's time, and maybe he will use the healthcare system, maybe he won't. I don't want you guys to think that I'm not addressing that we do need support and help, because there are real life symptoms and real life things that we are going through, physiological things that we are going through that on a day-to-day that are affecting our lives, that yes, medication can help, in therapy and this, that and the other. So I'm not trying to disregard that. What I'm saying is the problem comes when we just write off the origin of the need for those things as some kind of something that just came out from nowhere. Because again, even according to science, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So the energy, in order for that thing to happen, whatever it is inside of you, had to come from somewhere. And this is why I truly believe in the things of the spirit, because I feel like so many of the spiritual things, particularly trauma, it's like with God. When you have like an experience with a godly person, like if you meet somebody who's truly a lover, somebody who's generous, somebody who's kind, whatever, that you will experience a feeling of something that will change your whole mood. I remember the other day I was watching this video, and I thought, this is so wholesome. I love that there's people that do stuff like this in the world. And this guy, he was like playing his song, I guess, outside, but like he had them in headphones, and he put a sign up, and the sign was like, if you are having a bad day, sit down and put on the headphones or something. And this woman walks over, and she looked distraught, and it was that feeling of like, she wasn't like crying or anything, but her face, when you're like, like when you're really going through it, and like gravity is having like an extra effect on you that day, because that's how bad your day is. It's like you don't even want to look at yourself in the mirror, because you're like, I don't even want to see how bad this is. She was having one of those, and she didn't look bad. Like, I mean, that it was the emotion. She didn't look like ugly or anything. It's the emotion, just to be very clear. And the way her face lit up when she heard his song, and she even got up and she went to hug him. You could tell she needed that. Like, she needed that moment to, and there was an exchange there. That's what I'm saying. There was an energy exchange. He had positive energy of light, of love, of whatever, and he exchanged that energy to her, and she transferred that energy to her, and it actually helped to reduce or overcome or overwhelm the negative energy that she had. And I believe that with trauma and with a lot of these things that we go through, it's an exchange of energy. When you go through certain things, when you experience certain things with people, there is an energy exchange that takes place, and now you've absorbed an energy. Just like how you've absorbed that energy from the person giving light, you absorb the negative energy of the darkness. Now, that's why we have to do things like healing and deliverance, because we need the Lord to help us. When I say the Lord, I mean directly, but also indirectly, because he created us. So he created us to be intelligent beings, like scientists, therapists, and all that. He created us to be, to have communities where we have people that care about us and love us. That's what we're supposed to have, right? that care about us and love us. And can I just say that it's one of the most disappointing things in society to think that some people right now who probably want therapy can't afford it. And the fact that they don't have money to get help that they need to have a conversation with somebody who cares enough just to listen is just another proof of why I think that this planet is absolutely despicable place to live and to exist. But anyway, so those exchanges of energy have an impact, and you just don't know what the impact is going to be, because it's like planting a seed. And this is why I believe that the enemy attacks us as children, because it's like, let me plant as many seeds as possible that you don't understand, because as a child you don't understand, right? You don't understand, you think you're trusting, you're unwise, whatever. And so while you're growing up and whatever, all of these things have time until you get to realize that anything is even affecting you, right? Just like the snake in the garden. So I'm saying the snake, when you get a snake bite, you might not notice when a snake bites you. You might just feel like a little itch, right? You didn't see the snake, you didn't hear the snake, because you don't have to see or hear the snake to be bitten by it, right? Same with spiders, right? So you have that experience, and then you go off and you go in your life, and then you just itch your ankle, but you don't know what it is, itch or wherever. Like, it's like, what is it? You haven't yet pinpointed it. You might only realize that you've been bitten by a snake when you're dead in heaven, because you get there and you be like, God, whoa, yo, what happened? I was just, and he's like, yeah, you got bit by a snake. And you're like, I never even saw a snake. And that's the enemy. That's the point. You never even saw the snake, because the snake was so busy planting seeds in the very beginning. This is why the enemy attacks childhood. And so by the time you're an adult, first of all, it's way more difficult to overcome. Second of all, the results of dealing with it are much greater, because if you can yank out a problem at the early stages, right, then easy. Like if you want to go out in your garden and you plant a tree and it's day 2 that tree has been planted, hey, you can go and yank that out with your hand. You probably don't even have to and I'm saying like a tree from like literally like seed, like a tree sapling, like the small, like the sapling, whatever. You might just need like a small shovel, maybe even your hand, whatever. You can get that tree out of there. Try and go and find a tree that's been there for the last 50 years, 100 years, 200 years. How hard is it going to be to get that tree out? Exactly. Because now it's built, and that's exactly what the enemy wants. Because then we spend our whole lives just managing these trees, just like trying to chop down the branches and this is what I feel like all of this stuff we're doing, all of these therapies, all of these medications, and all of these titles, it's all like helping us to like manage the weeds in our garden. It's helping us all to manage this snake in our garden. Like, rather than killing the snake, getting rid of the stupid snake, right? Instead, we're like, oh no, let's just run away, and let's just try and like build a shelter to keep us from the snake. The snake is growing and everything, but let's just build a little shelter to keep us from the snake. And it's like, oh, the snake is big enough to get into the shelter and bit me again. Oh no, let's go. And you're just managing this snake, and it's like, kill the snake, kill the damn snake. Kill the damn snake. That's why even Jesus is called the second Adam. Hello? He's like, I'm coming to finna do what Adam didn't do in the garden, kill the freaking snake. He's now ancient snake. You know what I'm saying? So like with all this stuff, like I said, I'm not trying to tell anybody that like, oh my gosh, you're wrong for... No, because yes, there are a collection of symptoms that come together based on certain circumstances, and we can probably title them, but I wouldn't title them under the words that we use today. I would title them under other words, which I will not be getting too much into at this particular moment, because I want to just stay... I want us to stay here together. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's spiritual elements to it. I believe that one of the reasons, and I believe this is so strongly, I believe that, I believe in sex as a form of transfer. Okay, energy transfer. Actually, there's no questioning that's a form of energy transfer. So, of course, the enemy is a predator. Of course, the enemy likes to use these types of things like the rape, molestation, all of that malarkey for kids who are super young. Of course he does. You know why? Because all he has to do is get somebody with a whole bunch of what's going on in their system, right, to come to you, even as a child, and plant some other seeds as well. Plant some seeds in you. That's why even when we hear so many stories, I find it fascinating how, I was thinking about this today, and I'm not going to talk about this too much in this video because I have another video. Oh my gosh, I'm going to upload like 50 videos in one go. This is going to be insane. This is insane. I find it fascinating that we keep ignoring this glaringly obvious chain of events, again, like I talked about in a previous video, I was talking about diseases and disorders don't just come from anywhere. You should watch that video if you haven't, because it's better to watch that one before this one, honestly. But anyway, who knows? We'll leave it all up to the Lord and the algorithm. But we'll leave it up to the Lord, because the algorithm for sure doesn't want anybody to hear anything I have to say. That's for sure. What was I going to sign here? What was I going to say? Happy Sabbath as well, everybody. It's now the Sabbath. I'm going to make sure that all these videos go up while it's still the Sabbath, so that we can have each other know. Just be nice. Anyway, we have these chains of generational things. I'm like, I wonder how it keeps being passed on. We wonder how the person became a pedo in the first place. Well, because there was a pedo before them, and a pedo before them, and a pedo before them, and a pedo before them. That's why. Yeah, and that's the thing we don't want to talk about as a society, right? We wonder why such and such is an addict, because there was an addict before them, and an addict before them, and an addict before them, and an addict before them. And I see these things on a spiritual level. I see these as spirits that are being purposefully transferred, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. I see them as energy being transferred from one place to another, to another, to another. And if we want to go back to where that energy came from, well, God says, I am that I am. So he is being, he is life. Life itself is God, and God is, he is I am. He's not even him, he's I am, right? So I am created everything, and he created everything in order. The devil, the angels did what they did, walked away, right? Decided to go and do the opposite of what God said is order. And then we, the people, Adam and Eve, walked away from the Lord as well, went to do disorder. And then by 6 chapters into the Bible, we're already sleeping with the watcher angels. The watcher angels, the people, come together. Giants, and all sorts of other things that was not even spoken about, but we'll come back to that in another video. Then the flood takes out the bodies of these creatures, these insatiably lustful, angry, disgusting, greedy, gluttonous, prideful, lazy spirits. At this point, I'm just labeling the 7 deadly sins, because they do kind of help to summarize the 7, like a lot of sins. But anyway, and they no longer have somewhere to go, because the angels were angels and they lived in heaven, were supposed to be with the Lord. Anything that's not supposed to be with the Lord is supposed to be in hell. But now these spirits are neither for heaven nor for hell, until obviously everybody goes to hell. So where are they now? They are just disembodied spirits. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about demons. And so now they're looking for some vessels that they can go and do the sick, twisted things they were doing before. And lo and behold, what greater vessel than the vessel created in the image of God himself, the Homo sapien. Ladies and gentlemen. And thus we have demons. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's how the energy was transferred from God, starting something good, and the free will that he gave to both the angels, who refer to us, the Homo sapiens, as brothers, to us, the Homo sapiens, made in the image of God, given dominion on this earth, to us going and all of us all doing something very sick and twisted that has nothing to do with God and the opposite of godliness, because he gave us free will. And all of that energy turns into demonic energy. That demonic energy is transferred through the generations. And here we are. That is what I'm saying. And so there's levels to it. There's the genetic passing on of things. There's the demonic. Let's use people that are traumatized. Because you know what? I've realized that on a spiritual level, right? I've realized that my power as a woman, that if I really wanted to wreak havoc, I really can understand. This is why Jezebel upsets me more than anybody in the Bible, really. Because I'm like, if I really wanted to wreak havoc and cause severe damage for the future, I could easily do it. You mean to tell me I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year? I'm 27 years old. Do you know how much damage I could do? How much negative seeds I could be planting out there that will just grow? I could forget. I would create the next Amazonian forest of demonic activity by just going and planting these seeds amongst people. right? That's how powerful we are as people, because we can transfer. And again, when it comes to at least consensual things, that's seen as permission according to the kingdom of darkness as well, right? So there's all these doors open. That's why I say, listen, we just really need to just receive Jesus, because otherwise we're too far gone. Like, there's so much correcting that needs to go on. Like, it's a joke. This is why when yesterday I was seeing a video and this guy was in his car. It's like, from New Age to Christianity, being delivered from 2 demons. I was like, bro, I think we got a whole much bigger demon issue in this earth. And by the way, I'm not saying that I believe all mental health disorders are demons. I do think some of them are. I'm not gonna lie. I do think some of them are, and not because, oh, this person is acting like this. No. That's not what constitutes it. One of the other most clever things the devil has done is made us think that we know what demonic activity looks like. Demonic activity looks like, it's often easiest to see in somebody's eyes. If you've ever been around somebody, right, here's how you can start to spot demons in people that that are around you and yourself, because you might see them in you, and then at that point you need to go to the Lord and be like, Lord, deliver me, please. Look in the eyes. You can always tell, because at a certain point some people's eyes will just glaze over, or they'll start looking like whatever, and they'll just look different, and you'll see the demon, whatever it is. It could be a demon of lying, it could be a demon of narcissism, it could be a demon of rage, could be a demon of lust, could be a demon of gossip, could be there's all these demons. Anything that is not of the Lord is there could be a demon of it. You know what I'm saying? So look at people's eyes and their demeanor. If you see somebody and it's like they black out, the equivalent of like the difference that and it's like almost like they're a different person for a moment, and then they come back to themselves. Again, not all demons, but could be. And I'm not gonna lie, considering how little we believe in them, especially now, it means from where I'm standing, I really don't want to see how many demons are here, actually, because I feel like they're everywhere. I feel like we're absolutely infested with them, to be honest. At this stage, there's an infestation, because we don't even believe in that stuff. Because and again, the only reason I'm even bringing this up is to talk about how things happen in the first place, and pinpointing. The pinpointing of where so many of these disorders could just be the general, your brain and your body responding in survival for you to be able to stay alive. Because that's what our bodies do. Our bodies and our brains are built to help us to survive. And sometimes the way that they do it isn't ways that we personally have chosen, but our brain does. So, for example, one of those things is just to forget. Sometimes people be like, oh, I forgot this whole period of my life. There's a 10-year period of my life that I forgot. It's because your brain might have realized that you thinking about that is too painful for you to function. Your brain will forget it for you. Right, so there's those types of things. Then there's things that are just going to be physical symptoms based on how you're going to be affected physiologically. So for things like people who've been through different types of trauma, there are physiological changes that can happen in your body. It's interesting to look into those. Psychosomatic symptoms as well. So it's known that you can have things going on in your brain, things that you're thinking and feeling, that can create physical manifestations on your body. I get this myself. When I'm very, very, very stressed, like super duper stressed, I start to get rashes and like hives on my hands. Recently, I had first eczema flare up that I've had since I was a baby. And I was like, oh, I'm stressed. Because it's physiological. Because for some people, they'll feel it more in their emotions. And for some people, it might be a more physiological response. I'm one of those people because, again, I'm good at shutting off my feelings. So a lot of times my response to what's happening will happen in my head as far as I'll think it through. I won't be feeling it, but my body, I'll see psychosomatic symptoms. There's also the transfer or the seeding of people and in human interactions of demonic activity. And so all I'm trying to say to everybody is, I'm not saying let's all panic about demons, because Jesus defeated death. Jesus is the most powerful thing of all. And I promise you, the demons are scared of Jesus. In fact, Jesus is the only one they're scared of, to be fair, because he's the only one who can actually get rid of them, right? But we need to call a spade, and we need to stop tolerating snakes in our gardens, okay? Because it's all well and good, us all feeling better that we have something that we can pinpoint. And I get it. I understand the peace and feeling like, oh, I have some closure, or understanding about why I've been like this or why I feel like this. But if the thing that you're feeling and you're acknowledging, if it's still taking over your life in such a way. You're not living free. This is what I mean when people are like, oh, God is not, it doesn't, where's freedom? Like you're in slavery to Jesus. I'm like, you're in slavery if you have to do all these things. You're on, no offense, but it's for all of us. If we have to take all these medications, if I have to, every time I'm upset, I'm here isolating, and whatever it is that we do, we're enslaved to those things. Those are the things enslaving us. Because if we were free, we would be able to just do whatever. We'll be in complete control. Freedom means you're in complete control yourself of yourself. Slavery comes when something else is controlling you. In Christ, you have the fullness of free will. So in Christ, I can do things. I don't not do things because I'm being controlled. I don't do things because I choose not to do them. And I can choose not to do them because they're not enslaving me. Because if they were enslaving me, then I couldn't choose not to do them. And that's why there's so many things in society that we keep finding ways around, like, how can we just manage us still doing something that we shouldn't be doing? And the reason for that is because, why? Because we are enslaved to them. So we have to medicate. We have to have coping mechanisms. We have to put ourselves on these strict regimes, routines, because we're like fighting this thing that has control over us. That is slavery. Freedom is the ability to say, hey, like me right now, I have the freedom to say I could do a whole bunch of things right now. Anything that you think that is ungodly, I can easily go and do it. Right? The problem is when I can't easily not do it. The problem is when I'm having so many discussions with myself as to how I need to manage doing it, and I'm realizing, oh, this thing is controlling me. That's the slavery. And that's why I think this is so crazy, because then this is the work of the enemy. It's like, if I can't kill you, I'm going to make your life so dysfunctional, so destructive, so chaotic that you can't even function well, because you're spending all this time trying to sort out your emotions, trying to sort out what you have to do, trying to cover your wounds or lick them, trying to make sense of this, you're spending your whole life just trying to deal with the mess of everything. You're never able to do anything. You're never able to fulfill the purpose that God has for you. And that's why the Bible says the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And Jesus came to give us life and life abundantly. He's like, listen, do what you want to do. Because when you're truly free and nothing's controlling you, the truth is that you're probably going to want to do what the Lord says anyway, because you're going to realize that with the Lord, the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. You see what I'm saying? And where does long-suffering go in there? One of them I bet be saying, is it patience and long-suffering the same? I don't know. Anyway, you're going to be thriving. You're going to be living in the abundance of the Lord. In happiness, in peace, in functionality, in joy. Not in what we do today, where we're just all trying to consistently try to find answers about ourselves, whether it's through astrology or whether it's through whatever acronym of letters is whatever thing we've been diagnosed with or whatever. And I mean that respectfully. Like I said, it's all of us. I'm in the same boat as everybody else. And it's not good enough for me. I guess what I'm saying is it's not good enough for me to just manage these things my whole life. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy my life. I want to thrive. I don't just want to survive. I want to thrive. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I say all of this in love, and I hope you guys get the gist of what I'm actually trying to say, and that I'm not trying to villainize anybody. I'm trying to say, let's really get to the root of these things, because once we get to the root, you know what the Bible says, who the Son sets free is free indeed. And you know the Bible also says the truth shall set you free, and you will be freed. Just because those things are there, just because the things have happened, just because you've had a past, just because you've done this person did that, you went through this, whatever. That doesn't have to be the end of your story, because God is the one who is. He is life. He is living. He is the original energy of everything. He is the energy. So he can do whatever the heck he wants to do. Right? And that's why, that's my Lord. I don't know about y'all, but for me, that's the God I serve, and Jesus is the one whom I'm here following. He's my Lord and Savior. Because if life's a game, let's play to win. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.